This podcast is sponsored by Active Skin Repair, a skin health company helping people heal with natural, non-toxic, medical-grade ingredients. Honestly, it's only the one first aid supply we have right now because Active Skin Repair can be used to treat a wide range of skin issues, including cuts and scrapes and burns and sunburn, which is huge here in Arizona, rashes and other types of skin damage. It's also safe and non-toxic, making it suitable for use on all skin types. I use it on my son's mosquito bites all the time. And it can even be used on rosacea and eczema and acne-prone skin.
Yeah, it's crazy. And seriously, with over 500,000 happy customers and thousands of 5-star reviews and ingredients that are safe and clean and can be used from your youngest member of your household all the way up to your oldest, everybody has one simple solution for all of your family's skincare needs.
So go visit www.activeskinrepair.com to learn more about Active Skin Repair and get 20% off your order. Use code NOGUILT. That's activeskinrepair.com to get 20% off your order. Use the code NOGUILT.
That is a key time for us to be curious about our kids, to draw them out, ask them questions, and see where even what you think is a flaw could actually be one of their greatest assets, but immature in the moment. So we as parents, we have the harder work to do, but we can definitely shape our kids, even if we don't know their type.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the lovely Bree Tucker.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you?
Today, we have the wonderful Beth McCord talking about Enneagrams. And guys, I got to tell you, this is a powerful conversation. I mean, she made me cry multiple times, not in a mean way, but in oh, you hit the truth so hard. I can't believe that you know that about me way. So and Bree, you also found it very compelling.
I would say it was almost like a therapy session and a little bit with a psychic. I feel like it was like a therapy with a psychic all rolled into one. And
yes.
I mean, I already was excited when Beth's team reached out to us to do this episode because I was like, oh, Enneagrams, this is going to be awesome. But her book and everything she said, mwah, mwah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And now let me introduce you to the wonderful Beth McCord. She's the founder of Your Enneagram Coach and is an Enneagram speaker, coach, and teacher for over 20 years. Her podcast has over 3.3 million downloads. She's passionate about coming alongside individuals and helping them rewrite their story, allowing them to see that lasting change, meaningful relationships, and a life of deep purpose is possible. And we hope you enjoy our conversation with Beth. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. Welcome, Beth, to the podcast. We're so happy to have you here. And you are our first guest on Enneagrams. And we talk about it. I throw it in all the time. So this is our first introduction to our audience, really officially, about Enneagrams.
Yay.
So welcome.
Yeah, thanks. That's special. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so interesting because I first found about Enneagrams through another podcaster, Amy Porterfield, who we were talking about earlier, who lives actually very close geographically to you.
Yep.
And as a way just to figure out more about yourself. And I have to say, out of all the personality tests out there, Enneagram is the most universally appreciated among entrepreneurs, I feel. Every single person I talk to who runs their own business, especially online, they're like, oh yeah, I'm an Enneagram 1. What are you? I'm a 3. Or everything. So can you give us a brief description on what Enneagrams are?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Ennea means 9 and gram means a drawing or a diagram. And so when you see the Enneagram symbol, what you'll see is a 9-pointed geometric figure, which basically looks like a 9-pointed star. And each point represents a basic personality type. Or another way of seeing it is that each of these personality types have lenses on, like let's say sunglasses, and each of them have a different color because each type is seeing, interpreting, and reacting to the world through their lens. And their lens or their personality type is hinged on the core motivations of that type. There are 4 core motivations. So each person, each type has a core fear, what they're trying to run away from or prevent happening. They have a core desire, they're trying to obtain, like, oh man, if I have this, life's going to be just perfect. They have a core weakness. This is their Achilles heel, their thorn in the side that keeps tripping them up all the time. And they have a core longing, a message their heart longs to hear. And so each personality, why you think, feel, and behave is based off of these core motivations. Now, the word why is the biggest difference between this personality typology and others, because most of them are telling you what you do or your preferences. This gets to why you think, feel, and behave. And that's really awesome and creepy all at the same time, because once you find your type, you're going to feel like someone's read your internal diary even better than you could have written it yourself. And so on one side, it's really exciting to get that clarity. And on the other side, if you're not careful, you can slip into kind of shame and condemnation because the Enneagram is a non-judgmental friend. It is going to tell you your glorious strengths and attributes and your deepest weaknesses. And what people usually do is they just kind of hone in on those weaknesses and like, oh, I'm just such a terrible person, or I'm the worst type. And it's like, no, all the 9 types are truly amazing in their own right. And so what we're hoping, at least at Your Enneagram Coach, is to help people, yes, definitely see where you have your liabilities. If you don't know them, you're going to keep falling into them. So know what they are, but we want you to get to the healthiest place for your personality type, because it's there that, one, you'll experience great joy, but you will also bless others. So in a nutshell, the Enneagram is about why you think, feel, and behave based off of your core motivations.
It's so interesting to me. When I was first getting started into Enneagrams and having really a trouble getting my type, I was told like, it's the type where you're going to read it and you're like, no, I don't want to ever be that ever. And that's the one that's usually indicative of you. Would you say that's the case?
Yes and no. Like, for instance, I'm the peaceful accommodator, the type 9. And yes, when I see some of the unsavory characteristics of that type, I'm kind of like, I want to run away. But there are other types that I would for sure be like, no, I don't want to be that, because my type is really like at the less healthy levels is adverse to that type's adverse, less healthy attributes. So for instance, like the type 8, they're the passionate protectors. Now, I love type 8s. We call them big diesel snowplows at Your Enneagram Coach because they plow a path for others. But when they're not so healthy, they can start nicking people on the side of the road, kind of going like, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you're in the way, you're in the way. What am I supposed to say? And then when they're really unhealthy, they can start plowing over you. And they're like, well, sorry, but
I didn't move.
Yeah, I don't care.
Right.
Now, someone like my personality, the peaceful accommodator, can look at that and look down on that. And of course, 9s are like, I'm not judgmental, I'm receptive. But honestly, we are. I mean, like, we'll be like, well, that's mean, rude, like inconsiderate, because to us, the highest value, our core motivations, we want peace and harmony and for people to feel that you have a place at the table, that you're important. And so someone who's confrontational and strong and assertive and who isn't maybe sometimes as empathetic and kind, we can look down on as if they're wrong and bad. But the 8s, they can do it back to us like, well, you're kind of weak. Why don't you stand up for yourself? Why don't you say what you need? So each of the personalities are going to see the glory in the healthy parts of all the 9 types, but they're also going to be kind of annoyed or affected in some form or fashion with the other personalities that are in their less healthy state. And that's what's so beautiful about the Enneagram is it really gets down to, are you healthy, average, or unhealthy, or
Yes.
somewhere in that spectrum, because it radically changes how you come across to others and how it affects you and your relationships.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's the power too of the Enneagrams is seeing like, what are the unhealthy behaviors of this personality type? I took the Enneagram test on your site, and I think I took it like an hour ago. I'm just off vacation from last week. I'm thinking I'm fun loving and everything. So I got a different type than I usually get. I
Yeah.
got the 7, which is like the fun loving one. And when I read the 7, I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's really like me. And so I went back to my tried and true one, the 1, clicking on that. And as soon as I read that core fear of being wrong, bad, evil, inappropriate, unredeemable, or corruptible, I was like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
That is like my core fear that keeps me stuck all the time and putting like myself out there or saying something wrong or like saying something mean. It is my core trigger as a parent. My daughter said to me the other day, oh, well, you said that my 11-year-old brother was a better driver than me. And I'm like, I would never, ever say that. And she's like, no, you did, Mom. Just being told that, making an insinuation that I was like a bad person or said a bad thing triggered me so bad. And so when you say that knowing these can really help you in parenting, I could see it. I could see how it identifies your triggers. What other ways do you see it helping in parenting, knowing your Enneagram?
Yeah. So, with my new book, Enneagram for Moms, I wrote the book that you need, not the book you want. And what I mean by that is I started using the Enneagram back in 2001 when my kids were 1 and 3 years old. And I just wanted someone to give me the instruction manual for my son, Nate, and my daughter, Libby. Like, just tell me what their type is, and I'm good to go. And that's just not how it works because the Enneagram is about, again, the why, the core motivations. I don't know your core motivations, or Brie, your core motivations. I can guess based off of behaviors, but behaviors can actually be identical, but the why behind it can be radically different.
Right. Like a misbehavior can be a misbehavior. It looks the same, but why they're doing it, 100% different. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, let's just say a clean home. Let's say all the moms are listening right now. We all want a perfectly clean home. Now, that's not true. Some don't care, but let's just pretend. Let's go through the wheel. We call it the wheel, like going around the star, the 9-pointed star. The type 1s will want a clean home because it's the right thing to do. The 2s, because it's a warm hug. For 3s, well, what are other people going to say about, the appearance of my home? So it's about image. The 4s, it's about their aesthetics, their design, their creativity, uniqueness. The 5s, it's about getting to their resources, like maybe their books or journals or other things that they want to learn from. The 6s, they're trying to prevent anything bad from happening. So maybe illness or someone tripping or falling, but it's also about duty and loyalty to their family. The 7, they don't want a messy home, keeping them from the next fun thing. The 8, they don't want the messy home to control them. They're going to control that home. And for me as a type 9, as a peaceful accommodator, I just want to clean home so I can chill and relax. And I don't have the dishes or other things tapping me on the shoulder, constantly telling me to do it. And so, as you can see, everyone can do or want the same thing, but why can be for very different reasons. And the reason I bring that up is that parents will want to type their kids and use the Enneagram to focus on their kids' behavior, when in actuality, we need the parents to look inward at themselves, do their own self-work. When you do your own self-work and understand what sets you off, like you did, like, okay, I'm really being triggered and activated right now because she's basically, in my world, the way I hear, interpret, and see it, is that she is telling me I'm being a bad or wrong mom. Now, I bet if I sat down with your daughter and we had a long talk, and like she got really like comfortable with me and I said, do you think your mom is a bad person? Do you think what she did was, like you were saying, she was being bad? I bet you she would, no. Like,
oh yeah,
no.
Yeah. And
right?
we did repair it afterwards. And she's like, that is not what I meant at all. Cause I'm very forthright with her. And I'm like, here's what I was feeling in the story I was telling myself. And she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean it like that. I was making a joke.
I'm going to say some of that is the joy of having a teenager.
Right.
They have sharp teeth.
We're going to go into exactly how parents can dig more into themselves using the Enneagram right after this.
So in our house, meal planning is a huge headache.
Mine too.
My husband and I like to eat more low carbs, kind of keto. But my daughter, well, you know her. She's a bit picky. HelloFresh has a new program called Build a Plate Meals. They are designed to let every member of your household create their perfect plate. So I have no more headaches trying to find a meal to accommodate everybody. I just find parts for everybody in the meal. And HelloFresh makes it so easy that everybody will enjoy what I'm making. And I am like so looking forward to trying out the Fiesta spiced chicken with avocado salsa and roasted sweet potatoes this week.
What I love is like HelloFresh's easy to follow recipes include pre-portioned ingredients.
And Green Chef and Every Plate, who you've heard us talk about before, they are now owned by HelloFresh. And now with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, I mean, seriously, there is something for everyone.
I have to mention for a limited time, kids eat free. They eat free. So go to HelloFresh.com/NGM Kids to unlock this exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while your subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/NGM Kids.
HelloFresh, it's America's #1 meal kit.
I am a water connoisseur and I cannot handle it when it doesn't taste good. I will like toss out water that I'm like, no, that's not good.
And that is why we feel like you guys have got to check out AquaTrue. AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process. And their countertop purifiers, they work with no installation or plumbing. I mean, that makes it work for even me. It removes 15 times more contaminants than your ordinary water pitcher filters and are specifically designed to combat chemicals in your water supply.
And they have water purifiers to fit every type of home, from installation-free countertop purifiers to higher capacity under the sink options. They even have a Wi-Fi connected purifier and mineral boost options. Yeah, it's really cool. So AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes a great gift. Today, our listeners, you receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to AquaTrue, that's AQUATRU.com and enter code NGM at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to AquaTrue.com and use promo code NGM.
Today's podcast is sponsored by MIDI Health. I have to tell you guys, if you are a woman over 40 like I am, and you have started dealing with some crazy stuff like hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, vaginal dryness, weight gain, all of these things that you just are like, what the heck is happening to my body? I'm here to tell you, you don't have to accept it as another part of aging. All of these symptoms can actually be related to perimenopause and menopause. And yes, it can start in your 40s, but I have found a solution. MIDI Health. Seriously, this place is amazing. You can have virtual visits. Their clinicians are experts in menopause. They understand the frustrations and they also have full range of care options for you. Schedule a virtual visit and you'll come out of the experience feeling heard and with a plan that will work for you. Book your appointment with MIDI Health today. Visit joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
So we were talking before about how the Enneagram really helps you decode yourself. It reminded me actually of another conversation we were having with Cara Natterson of the Puberty Podcast, where she was talking about this recent book called The Anxiety Generation by Jonathan Haidt, which is very, very popular right now. And she said she saw the title and she's like, oh my gosh, finally, they got it right. They're talking about our generation, like the Gen X's and the millennials, who are here with all of this anxiety. And it's this idea about looking at our own personalities as parents versus trying to diagnose our children, which really intrigues me. And it's actually what No Guilt Mom is all about too. So how else can we use the Enneagram to really dig deeper into ourselves and figure out how to have better relationships with our kids?
Yeah, I mean, your story is literally a perfect example because you were activated by something your daughter did and said, and your type 1, the principled reformer lens that you were seeing through, you saw, heard, felt, and interpreted it from the lens of a type 1, which your fear is being bad, evil, corruptible, and wrong. You desire to be virtuous, right, to be the good girl, to do everything as it should be. And then your core longing is to hear you are good. So you would love to hear from your kids you're such a good mom,
Can you also say I don't want that to be part of my personality either. Like,
Sure.
even though
Yeah.
that's my core longing, I also hate that that's my core longing. Like, is that pretty typical?
That kind of goes to the one because the one feels like that's somehow wrong or bad, when in actually it's not. It's good. Like, to get an affirmation from someone or from a higher power that you are good
Mm-hmm.
is good. But the inner critic of the one, which is very strong, can turn that quickly into some sort of bad, selfish, something that's not right. And so then you'll feel like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, I got to get rid of that somehow. And it's like, no, that's
Yeah, my
actually,
core. Do you
that's
see I'm
fine.
tearing up? You hit me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
So your story with your daughter is a perfect example because no matter what age your daughter is, okay, so let's say she was 3 and she said that, let's say she's 13, 23, 33, 43, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know your kid's type, let's just use that example because a lot of parents don't. You can understand what activated you and why. So you can know, and we talk about this at Your Enneagram Coach as being a rumble strip on the highway. So most of us are driving down and then we just kind of veer off course and we fall into a common pitfall and we kind of go, how did I get here again? Like, haven't I learned my lesson? Well, it's because we don't know why we veered off. We don't have those rumble strips to alert us and to wake us up. So for you, those core fears and core desires can alert you like, oh, wait, okay, I feel activated inside right now. I feel something, what's going on? And so before you assume onto your daughter and let's say react to her in the moment, you can have this moment of like, okay, I feel like she just said I'm a bad mom. I did something wrong. Now, I wonder, could that be true or could that not be true? Okay, well, it could be both. Maybe I should ask a curious question. What we normally do is we assume onto other people their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, thinking they are wearing the same lens that we do. And so you would have assumed she said that because, as a type 1, I would have said that and it would have meant this. And therefore now I'm hurt. So by what you did, by asking curious questions, you got to hear her heart and her motives and where she was coming from. And it changed the trajectory of that moment. But let's say you couldn't even get to that point. You can still self-regulate yourself because we have to take good care of ourselves in order to take good care of others. So for you
Absolutely.
to recognize and have self-affirmation, which is hard for the type 1 because of the inner critic is so loud, but if you were to develop healthy practices of self-awareness and self-affirmations that are true, not like blown up or exaggerated, but just actually true, then you could come back to that place in that moment and go, no, wait, I am a good mom. Sometimes, yes, I do things wrong, or sometimes it will land on someone in a way that I should apologize, but I didn't mean for it to be that way. So I can sit here, even though I feel activated, and I can self-regulate myself before I enter into this relationship in the moment with conflict, and kind of coming at the person. So the more we can self-regulate ourselves, we can then enter into that space that normally would blow up in some form or fashion in a way that's actually beneficial for you, but also really beneficial for your kids. And then when you do that, they're going to start to mirror how you're self-regulating. So then when they're older, they're going to do it themselves.
I have a question. Someone's Enneagram type, because like mine, I took mine and I'm a 6 and I 100% resonate with it. And I can even tell you like why I'm a 6. But does it change in people's lives? I would assume it changes because like looking back at that, like I 100% understand why security and guidance and support is important to me. I had certain things happen in my life that I'm like, that finally, yeah, it really makes sense. So would you have said like, do people change their types and how often does an average person change their types? And does it, once you're in it, like as an adult, are you kind of like, that's it, that's your type, it doesn't really change?
It's a good question.
That's a really good question. So I, and a lot of Enneagram teachers believe you're born with your type and you remain that type. Now, here's what's so cool about the Enneagram. So let's say you're born with your type 6 lenses on, and in our logo, it's the orange color.
Yeah.
Well, you're not just a type 6, meaning we actually do use all 9 types to varying degrees,
Yeah.
but your type 6 reigns supreme. So your lens is an orange lens. But here's what's really cool about the Enneagram. There's so many layers and complexities. And what I try to do is make it easy to understand. So you have 2 wings next to you. Okay. So on the Enneagram symbol, next to you is the 5 and the 7. you use aspects of the 5 and the 7. Now, think of that as like salt and pepper, and your main type is a filet mignon, and you're cooking this beautiful steak, right? Well, when you use the seasonings properly, it draws out even better qualities of who you are, right? Like you're bringing and enhancing it. But if you over season, yeah, that's not going to be fun for anyone, right?
Right.
And so when you are healthy, you're going to use your wings, the attributes they have, in healthy ways, which is going to be amazing. When you're average, you're going to use your wings in average ways. And when you're unhealthy, you're going to also use your wings attributes in unhealthy ways. So let's just use you as an example. So 6s can be anxious and want security and guidance. Well, you can bring in that 7, which makes you fun and sarcastic and witty, playful, a great friend. But when you're not as healthy with that 7, it could make you a little bit more scattered, a little bit more anxious, a little bit more on edge.
Is she not describing me to a
Yes.
T right now, Joanne?
Yeah.
And then we could nuance it with a 5 as well. But the whole point, and then you're connected with 2 lines on the Enneagram, and those 2 lines are connected to 2 types. And the same thing, you use those in healthy, average, and unhealthy ways. You don't become these types. You remain your personality type, but you access them like those flavorings and seasonings. And again, in healthy, average, or unhealthy ways, depending on where you are currently at.
Okay.
So what that means is, yes, you stay your same type, and yes, you change in the sense of your orange lens can change. So on our logo, the 7 is a red. So let's say you're using more of the red in the moment. Well, that orange is still the orange overtone lens, but it has more of this red tint to it. And then when you use your type 5, which is more of a yellow color, that orange is also going to become a little bit more yellow. So does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, no, it
so
does.
you become a different shade of the orange color.
It's a spectrum.
And that's why,
and you can shift
and that's why
slightly.
I love the Enneagram, because it encompasses the complexity of the human being, right?
Okay.
That is so interesting. After this break, I want to get into more of how 2 Enneagram types interact with each other. And I think it'd be fun to use mine and Bree's as an example. And we'll tell you if it's good right after this.
When is the last time you made s'mores? Crunchy, gooey, and with everyone's favorite, Hershey's milk chocolate. Whether you're making new memories with your friends beside a campfire, inviting neighbors over for a casual cookout, or cooking s'mores in the oven with your family on a rainy day, enjoy some more of each other with Hershey's S'mores. Find Hershey's milk chocolate bars at your favorite retailer. Time to s'more some more.
Are you overwhelmed by the things that get in the way of you doing what you want to do? Are you looking for ways to simplify life to better align with your values? Do you want to create space in your schedule so you have room for more of the good stuff? Play, joy, relationships, gratitude, and more? If you answered yes to any of these questions, I invite you to check out Edit Your Life, a podcast to help you edit the unnecessary from your life so you have more room to enjoy the awesome. Through episodes with me, Christine Coe, and a range of super smart, compassionate, and thoughtful guests, you'll come away with big picture insights and practical ways to declutter your home, schedule, and mental space without getting bogged down by perfection. I have always believed that small moments and actions matter tremendously. My goal is to help you find agency and space in your life through doable baby steps that will leave you feeling accomplished instead of overwhelmed. Check out Edit Your Life wherever you enjoy your podcasts.
When it comes to raising kids, there's so much to consider. Things like, what do we feed them? When do we feed them? How do they sleep? What does it look like to raise kind kids? How does their nervous system work? How do I keep myself calm? What are my triggers? There's so much that comes into play, and we are distilling all of that information for you at Voices of Your Village podcast, where we bring experts in the field of early childhood and education and psychology and across the board so that you don't have to comb the internet for information. You get to show up and hang out and have shame-free, judgment-free conversations and insights into what it looks like to raise kind, empathetic, emotionally intelligent humans. I'm Alyssa Blask Campbell. I have a master's degree in early childhood education. I'm a mom of 2, and I am walking this journey right alongside you doing this work. Come hang out with me at Voices of Your Village, and we can dive into real conversations with actionable tips.
Okay, so you talk about the dance and how 2 Enneagram types can interact with each other. Now, parents can use this in their relationship with their kids, I'm really interested in how this pertains to like all relationships, especially like what your read on is interactions between a 1, myself, and a 6, Bree.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask me, and we started with that dance analogy, and it's an infinity loop, and each loop is a person, and inside the loop is their core motivations, okay? And we used it with our Becoming Us book, which is a marriage course, but it's any 2 Enneagram types. It doesn't matter who the 2 Enneagram types are, what the relationship status is. So we'll use the 2 of you. So we've got Joanne with the type 1, core fears and motivations. So again, we talked about the fear of being bad, evil, wrong, and then the desire to be good, virtuous, and right. And then for Bree, you are the type 6. You fear being abandoned, without security, guidance, not having safety, being targeted, but you desire to have security, guidance, and support. So what can happen when you guys are healthy? And so, that was the question. People always ask, like, are there 2 like really bad Enneagram types together, or 2 really good, And I'm like, well, this is literally the answer. I'm not just trying, to be fluffy. Any 2 healthy Enneagram types together are truly amazing. Doesn't matter if they're the same Enneagram types, totally different opposites, opposites attract. And then any 2 that are average, not so great. And any 2 that are unhealthy are destructive.
So we can't both fall apart at the same time, Joanne.
Yeah.
I think we already knew that. But
Yeah, we knew that. Yeah.
Well,
Right?
and really what makes a healthy relationship is at least one of the 2 working on themselves, but definitely we need both of them to work on themselves, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a type 1 who fears being wrong or bad or not having procedures done correctly, and then the type 6, now there's a lot of similarities in the 2. Then when you take the infinity loop and you put a line horizontally over it, then below that line is your heart motivations and what's happening internally. And then above is the behavior. So we'll start with Joanne. So here's the type 1. She fears things aren't being done correctly or accurately. And so she's feeling activated inside. So let's just take this podcast, for example. Maybe we're not flowing quite the way we thought we should or would. And so then she's starting to panic inside, like, okay, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. It needs to be done just so. And so I'm starting to panic inside. The inner critic is definitely telling me it should be like this and should be like that. Then her behaviors can come out for type 1 at times, a little bit more blunt or curt, nitpicky. And that can then land on this.
That's me.
And then that can land on the 6 as, oh, wait, she's telling me I'm doing something
I'm
wrong.
calling you out. Yeah. We have this conversation all the time.
All the time.
Luckily, we got to the point where I'll be like, and I feel like you're calling me out. And you'll be like, that's
And
not
I'm
what
like, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Go.
Yeah, and so the 6 is feeling like the opposite of being guided and supported.
Yeah.
It can feel you're judging me or you're telling me I'm bad or I'm wrong, so they're in that state. And so when she's like that, her behaviors are going to be, well, it could, 6s are a little bit complex in how they do things, but let's say the 6 in this manner is going to be maybe a little bit more pushed back. Like, hey, what's going on? Why are you saying I'm doing something wrong? I thought I was doing all of these things right. I was being faithful, dutiful, responsible, and now you're saying I'm not. Well, then that can land onto the 1 as if, wait, she's saying I'm being bad and wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly my internal thought process. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And so then it's going to activate you, and then around and around we go, right?
Yeah.
And that is the misaligned dance, but you can get to the aligned dance. And the aligned dance is where, this is what we were saying earlier about your time with your daughter earlier, where when you recognize, so in this situation, when Joanne, when you recognize, oh, wait, hold on. I am feeling like we're not on track with this. Something's off track. We've got to get back on track. I really got to hone it in and control this. But it comes across in like that teaching, maybe a little bit judgmental. Now, ones are going to kind of hold back the judgment. So it's going to come across a little bit more cold than sometimes warm, because they're trying not to show their anger, which they're like, no, anger is bad. So I don't have any anger. And yet they do. It's resentment. So then these are going to come out sideways. And so Bree is going to feel that sideways frustration and anger and be like, wait, what's going on? I'm feeling uncertain. Why can't you just tell me what's going on for real? But it's hard for Joanne to express the anger because she thinks that's wrong and bad. When in actuality, if Joanne, if you're just like, You know what? I am really frustrated and angry because in my world, this has to go a certain way. And if it doesn't, then I feel like I'm bad or wrong. And actually, just talking about this helps me to decompress and like be real and vulnerable. And then Brie can be like, but you're not wrong or bad. Sometimes things just need to be flexible. Sometimes things aren't the way we thought they would go. And
It's
that's
taken
okay.
us years to get there, but I feel like you're getting
we are there.
some of our best conversations. You're describing them to a T right now, Beth.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. And look, you're giving me therapy because I'm crying.
Had we been able to, had we had this book years ago.
Right. And here's the thing. Have I talked to you guys ever?
No.
Yeah. But I don't know. I really don't know anything about you. I don't know how many kids you have. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's where the Enneagram is so powerful when you truly understand what's going on internally with each of the types and those core motivation levels. And this is where we want to take off our lens and put someone else's lens on, not to negate our side.
Yeah.
Our side and our perspective is valid, but what is going on for them? So when each of you can kind of take off your lens and put the other lens on, you can go, and just being open and honest, like, hey, I'm feeling like we're doing something wrong or bad. I know that's just me being a type 1. I have a lot of fears. I want some control. And it's probably going to come out sideways and it's going to land on you. It's like I'm being judgmental or teaching or being nitpicky. But it's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm just scared. I'm scared that this or this or this isn't happening. And I just need to be able to vocalize that without it landing on you, Brie, as I am saying that you're wrong or that you're in trouble or that we're in trouble or that everything's going to fall apart. So Brie, if you heard that.
Wow, that is like so like, it's like a shower of truth and feelings.
Yeah.
Because she would be being honest with what's going on, but she's also being honest with how she feels about you. Like this isn't because she would know, okay, you fear being in trouble or that this whole podcast thing is going to fall apart. And she could say, I am not saying that, but I know that that would be a fear for you. I just need to be able to vocalize my side and have us like work together on where our fears are so that we're on the same page, but we know that we're not trying to come at each other with our personality lenses, but let's just talk about where we're really at. And 6s want honesty and so do 1. So you guys actually want the same thing, but you might accidentally be hearing it
the wrong
from that person's lens. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, we've worked through a lot of it and had these conversations, but it's taken us a while.
Yes, it's taken us a long time to get there. And I think part of the reason we were able to get there is because of the fact that we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
We can be that honest with each other. If it was an average coworker relationship, I would not feel safe enough to have that conversation the way we do.
And we teach communication and self-reflection.
Yeah. We both, it's a big focus for us both. I have a quick question though. Okay, so I made my husband take this too so that I could kind of like see where he landed. But you talked about how like our kids, we can view them a certain way. How do we figure out where our kids are coming from? Do we have them take the Enneagram test as well? Or I mean, like, obviously you can't have your 6-year-old take it. They're not going to get it.
Right. Yeah. So really for each person, whether it's your husband or boss or whoever, you might have an inkling, like, I think they're that, but you might be surprised. Like a lot of people don't think I'm a 9 because I can be so outgoing. And they're like, oh, you must be a whatever number. And I'm like, no, trust me, I'm a 9. And so we don't want to name other people their type for them. Even if you swear, like my husband thought he was a type 8 for years and he's a type 6, like, because he didn't want to be like my mom, who's a type 6, which they're very different on the outward looking 6s. And so he didn't even want to look at it. But for our kids, they don't know themselves until probably like really why they do what they do until their teenage years, maybe even older. Some of them don't care, they don't want to have that conversation. But your kids were born with their personality. And so even though God, gave you this can of white paint and you're like, oh, cool, I get to make whatever color I want. I want to make, like me, I want to make little peaceful accommodators. These are going to be like super kind and empathetic people.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it's good to impart my personality, the good things to them, but they have their own personality in there. So, when you go to like Sherwin-Williams and you say, hey, I want whatever color, the color goes in, multiple colors, right? Go into the paint can, but they settle at the bottom and they have to shake it up, right? Or it just stays basically a can of white paint with a lot of color at the bottom. When you're giving your baby, it's like that can of white paint with the color at the bottom. You don't even know what their personality is. They don't know what it is, but it's there. It just is going to take time for them to experience life and have it shooken up and stirred and all the things. But here's what really happens is as you stir, when you first start stirring, you might see a hint of orange and then all of a sudden there's some blue. And then it's like, wait, what color is this? Well, remember I said that we use all 9 Enneagram types to different degrees. So my mom was a 6 and my dad was a 7. So I bet you there was a lot of 6 and 7 that kept popping up because I'm just trying to figure out this world and what's safe and how do I get through this world without either getting in trouble or, whatever it is. But that color eventually comes to fruition, definitely in those teenage years. And this is what's really hard for parents because parents are usually like, you've never been like this before. You were always such and such and such and such, and now you're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because our personality is fed up living an inauthentic life and they just want to be them. And so that is a key time for us to be curious about our kids, to draw them out, ask them questions, and see where even what you think is a flaw could actually be one of their greatest assets, but immature in the moment. So like as a type 9, if I had a type 8 daughter who is strong and aggressive and a leader and says what she thinks, I would characterize that as being bad, rude, and inconsiderate of others. But that actually is one of the greatest strengths of an 8 when they use it in a healthy way. For example, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We need 8s to plow a path for others. Yeah. So as a parent, it's my opportunity and privilege to find what are their traits and how can I help them to recognize, hey, how you're using that trait right now is ineffective and actually harmful, but in and of itself can be great when it's used in this way and in this timing. For instance, you're talking back to your mom, you're yelling at her. Not the best idea. But when you are in a boardroom, when you're an adult and things go awry and you need to say the hard thing and stand up for the injustices, that's pretty remarkable. So we as parents, we have the harder work to do, but we can definitely shape our kids, even if we don't know their type. But definitely from teenage on is when you can start to kind of ask the questions and investigate.
That is interesting. This has been fascinating, Beth. Like I've learned so much more about the Enneagram from this conversation. And I want to know what is exciting for you coming up in your life?
Yeah, well, we just released the book in the summer. So the Enneagram for Moms is kind of, just what I've been spearheading. We have lots of books out there. We have even journals for each of the 9 types to learn about themselves. But this book, I think for moms, it's a book that I wrote to my younger self that I wish I had had. And so I know it's going to be a real blessing to all moms. And here's the thing, it's for all moms of all stages. My kids are adults and I have a grandson and I use the Enneagram all the time with my kids. It's so important because I could totally say something and it land on them wrong. And I can have those conversations with them and repair quickly because I know where they're coming from. And so this is definitely for all moms of all stages. So this is what I'm really excited about.
I love it. I love it.
I'm excited to look into it more to see what kind of more questions I can ask my daughter since she's 15.
Yeah. And in the back of the book, there's a whole section on the kids' core motivations, and it's written in a way that you can kind of dialogue with them, but also what they'll look like in their type when they're healthy, average, and unhealthy. So we'll give you kind of heads up.
I love that.
Cool.
I love
that.
it.
That is awesome. So go grab the Enneagram for Moms. I'm sure it's available on Amazon, right, Beth?
Yeah, it's available in all the places. Yep.
Anywhere you buy books, we'll have a link to the Amazon right at the bottom of the show notes. And thank you so much, Beth, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
That conversation with Beth was so I'm still wiping away my tears. And it's we got off with her about 10 minutes ago, but it hit hard.
It's crazy. So we were talking about that, and you'll hear me. I'm like, oh my God, it's like you're in our conversations. The exact words that we use. And it's taken us years to figure out how to do that. And you talk about it in the interview. I feel like the reason we figured out how to do it was because, one, being good friends for so long, we know that neither of us has ill will. So we have an open mind in the conversation. 2, we study communication so much with what we do here at No Guilt Mom. And we're both introspective people to begin with, but also know that it's something that you have to do being a parent and being a better communicator.
Oh, yeah.
But it would have been nice to have that shortcut years ago.
It would have been nice, but would we have believed it? That's the thing. It's like, would we have believed it? I don't know if we would have. It's like when you were having the conversation with your husband just now, and he's like, yeah, horoscopes, they're accurate. I mean, it's that level of like disbelief until you go through it. And you're like, oh my gosh, you totally got me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like totally. That's
Yeah.
so neat.
So it's funny hearing him. He's like a psychic. Like,
Yeah.
that'd be my husband too. It'd be my husband too. It's hilarious. Well, we hope you got a lot out of this and you are interested in finding your own Enneagram and how it relates to your personality. And until next time, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
Are you a parent in need of a laugh and a little escape? Look no further. Parenting is a Joke is the podcast you've been waiting for. Hey, I'm Ophira Eisenberg. I'm a stand-up comic and parent. And each week I chat with one of my top comedian pals who, just like you, are juggling careers, busy lives and schedules, and raising a family. You can expect candid stories, hilarious mishaps that happen on stage and at home, and just a lot of laughs. There's no expert advice here. Well, actually, sometimes a good idea does sneak its way in, but mostly just pure, relatable fun to remind you that we're all in this parenting adventure together. New episodes of Parenting is a Joke drop every Tuesday, so tune in, get ready to laugh, unwind, and maybe even feel a little bit better about your own parenting. Because sometimes that's exactly what your therapist, pediatrician, and bartender ordered. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform.